The Republican Party has lost its way. If we are to lead again, we need to muster the courage to remember who we are. We need to remember what we believe and why we believe it. Looking in the mirror can be hard, but the time has come to choose what kind of party we will be and what kind of future we'll fight to bring about. The choice is ours, and I've made mine.
Joining us now, Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. Congressman Kinzinger was one of the 10 House Republicans who voted to impeach Donald Trump, and now one of his political action committees, the Future First Leadership PAC, has recently launched something called the Country First Movement. So welcome back to the show. It's good to see you. Explain how this should work.
Well, I'll tell you how it came about. I was sitting around saying, I'm with what I've seen happening, I'm pretty angry, seeing the Republican parties appear to track back to Donald Trump even after the 6th. And I said, I just need to put out a statement of who we are, where we came from, and where we need to go. Just because I think people need to wake up sometimes and look around and go, man, how did we get here? And so I made this video and we married it with the PAC and a movement. And I'll tell you, I've seen it blow up. There's been many people that have reached out to me, that have signed up, and they're just desperate for a place to go in the Republican Party that isn't Trump first, it's country first. So this is developing day by day, and quite honestly, the outpouring has been pretty incredible. People just want to take the party back.
So Congressman, take the party back to what? What is? It's what I so want somebody out there talking to young conservatives to explain that at least what I grew up with, the conservatism of Edmund Burke, the conservatism of Russell Kirk, a little bit of Bill Buckley, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher in there. For you, what is conservatism? What is the Republican Party of your youth?
So here's what conservatism is in my mind. It's that a kid that's born in the inner city of Chicago should have the same opportunity as a kid born in the wealthiest suburbs. That's what it is. All this other stuff is what builds up to that end state of giving somebody an equal opportunity. So, of course, smaller government means you have more opportunity, but there is a role for government in things like we're seeing public health and defense of the country and infrastructure and making sure that people have a fair shot in the economy. But it's really just reminding folks that this country's job is to give you a chance to be who you want and chase what you want. And I think from a young person's perspective, that's what they want. The reason the idea of equal outcomes is so attractive when you talk about, a trend towards socialism is because that's the only thing that's been presented. And nobody's talked about what equal opportunity is. We've not had a good spokesman for conservatism since Ronald Reagan.
So, but even Ronald Reagan said at the end of the Carter administration, government is not the solution, government's the problem. Here we are 40 years later, understanding we're trying to get vaccine shots into everybody's arms. We're trying to rebuild a dying infrastructure. Government's not always the problem, is it?
No, it's not. But I think it's also understanding that, government serves an important role that the private sector can't. But in many cases, the private sector can, pair up with the government to do it more efficiently and effectively. If you look, for instance, in Europe at the 3 Cs initiative and infrastructure investment, where it pulls in the private sector into that, it's been highly successful in pushing back against Russia. So, I think as conservatives, it's not necessarily about having to stick to the way we've done it for 40 years, but it's understanding that principle that life is really about you being able to live how you want to. And we recognize there's a role for government, but it doesn't need to be overbearing, because with the changes like in technology and things like that, the particular prescription will change. And that's what Country First is about. It's not about hey, here's what you have to believe. It's about, do you actually have an optimistic view of the future of the country? Then you should be to country first. And because right now we've just been peddling darkness, division, and conspiracy for too long.
Congressman, it's Willie Geist. Speaking of conspiracy, you've been outspoken about some of the members in your own party in the House who've put forward QAnon conspiracy theories and voiced their approval for violence against other members of Congress. The reason we've heard that leadership hasn't spoken out, Kevin McCarthy in particular, is because, frankly, he doesn't want to run off voters who also believe some of that stuff. He's afraid of the voters. I remember you're saying something to the effect when you took that impeachment vote look, if it costs me my job, it costs me my job, but I got to do what I think is right here. So what has been the reaction in your district? For people who don't know, Donald Trump won your district by about 16 points. What's been the reaction in your district to your vote on impeachment and now this Country First movement?
Yeah, so, and I beat Donald Trump by 15 points over his number.
Yeah.
And I think what that shows is that Democrats will still be open to voting for you. Independents and Republicans that we've lost will. But look, it depends who you ask. If it's a general election question, I think people would be supportive. If it's the Republican base, they're pretty ticked off at me. And I don't look at that and say, oh, I'm scared about it. I look at it as an opportunity to say, we've forgotten what leadership is. Leadership is not just simply reflecting people's darkest fears back at them like has been done for the last decade or two. It's actually inspiring people to a better future. If you think of people like Ronald Reagan, et cetera, it's like, hey, look, I know y'all feel really bad, but here's actually a beautiful view I have of the future, and how about you follow me? Instead, it's been this, QAnon, stolen election, garbage that is reflected back to people, and we're paralyzed to criticize it because, gosh, we got to have those votes for the next election. But I have to start asking people, the next election for what? So that we can be in office and peddle conspiracy theories again? So that we have to be beholden to Proud Boys? No. You know what? The Proud Boys, the QAnons, they can leave. And if it costs us an election, great, because what that gives us an opportunity to do is to resell to the American people what the conservative vision is. And we need to quit being scared of this and lead again for once in some of our lives.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.